Hi everybody. This is our second critique for our still life. And in this particular drawing, what we were doing is really just taking the previous drawing just a little further. In your previous drawing, you learned about sighting and you had three objects that you were working with. And you were just, creating a just simple, very simple drawing where you were using sighting to create a more accurate rendition of your space, the positive and negative space, the objects in the background. And in this drawing, what you're doing is you are taking the same idea really, and really just, going a little bit further by looking a little bit more at the lighting, adding a few more objects and overlapping objects. And I wanted to just sort of briefly talk about why we do those things. Why do we overlap, and why do we use strong lighting? The first one, overlapping, if we, let me just zero in a little bit on one of the drawings here. See if I can get one that's nice and clear. Um, why we overlap objects is that they start creating relationships with one another. So they kind of start visually connecting. The shapes become larger shapes. So in this one, this particular shape overlaps this one, and they become a little bit of a grouping. And then this one is set to the side. So in a way, it starts telling a story, even though we just have these simple objects of this one being apart and these joined. So, visually connecting objects, you can see how all of these objects become a connected group. They actually create, if you visualize them as one big space, they're all just married together in the space. And that is usually something that we like as viewers. We like seeing things grouped together. Gives us a sense of kind of cohesiveness, and it also allows you as an artist a chance to create these sort of more integrated spaces. Um, the other thing, and I'll just stay on this one because I have a, a photograph here of the still life, is the assignment asked you in the instructions to take a light source, like just like a bare bulb, like take the lamp off, something so you have a very strong light source and have it off to the side. It's good when you're doing this kind of drawing if you can limit the amount of light that you have in the other part of the room. If you have a window, draw the blind or turn off the other lights, because the stronger the light source, the easier it is to start seeing the lights and darks. It's very clear here, isn't it, where we have got a light side here and a dark side here. And what that does is it allows you to create a more dimensional drawing. It gives you more form, which will make it look more realistic, which is our goal in this class, is realistic drawing. So lighting is like paying attention to lighting. First of all, setting up your drawing, also paying attention to lighting throughout the rest of this class. It will be so beneficial for you. So don't skip that in future drawings. Really pay attention to a really strong light source because it's so much easier to draw. And the reason why we did that for this drawing is that you didn't have to do any shading in this drawing at all, but you wanted to kind of pay a little bit more attention with your lights and darks of just even your line weight. So like on this side, for example, your line weight could be a little lighter. On this side, you could start darkening it a little bit. And just using that without going any further with the shading, you can start creating a sense of light and dark. It's very powerful. Okay, so let's get started and we'll take a look at everyone's drawings and see where we can, what's working and, some things that we can improve upon. That's always our goal in these critiques. Janelle, all right. Yeah, I can tell you have a really nice still life here, and your objects look really good in terms of their geometric shapes. And I think the main thing is that it's pretty hard to actually see some of your drawing because of your photographing. So I've been mentioning that to you since week one, so I'd really love if you could start photographing these a little bit better. Your camera looks great, why not, like in terms of the photograph that's being taken here. So why not go the extra step and try to, show your drawing a little bit more clearly. As I mentioned before, there's a really good video instruction in the first drawing we did back in task 1 of milestone 1. And I gave also some suggestions on the critique for how to do that. But you just really want to get your photograph looking a little bit better, Photoshop it. If you don't have Photoshop, there's also online editors, like photo editors. If you don't have Photoshop, just drop me an email and I can recommend one. There's for what we're doing in class, it's actually pretty simple to find an online photo editor. I'm thinking that maybe GIMP, GIMP, is a good one. It's free and it'll do all the things you need it to do. Um, Make sure to indicate the table itself, what you're doing with there's probably a line somewhere in here where the table is. And then start thinking a little bit about what we just talked about, making sure to try to show your line weight a little bit more about where the light is hitting it. Like if it's hitting it on this side, typically that's going to be a little lighter and then darkening it on the other side, wherever the light source is. So those are the main things. I think your still life, the arrangement looks really good. And it's just a matter now of working a little bit more about on the craft and the presentation. Oh, also too, in terms of presentation, if you can name your file using the convention within the assignment instructions, it just helps me know. I'm pretty sure that's you. This is yours, Janelle, based on. Oh no, you know what? It isn't. I don't think it is. Hold on a second here. I've got a few people that are using the numbers. So this is Tyrone. Okay, Tyrone. So I apologize. I got you guys confused. So all of that's, yeah, directed to you. And I think you actually have another drawing here, Tyrone. Oh, is it the same one? So, oh, it's maybe a little bit different. So I would say that the assignment wanted you not to use objects that had graphics on them or writing. So I would go with this one as being the one you want to aim for. Okay, so yeah, so use my feedback on this one and keep developing that one a little further. And in any of the drawings we're doing in this class, this is a general comment to everybody. Feel free to always start your drawing again. If you feel like sometimes it's easier to start a drawing again and make corrections on it, because drawing, if you have to make corrections, a lot of corrections, that can really take a lot of erasing. And so, paper's not that expensive. Just, start a new drawing and you will find it'll go faster and a lot, just again, starting from scratch. Okay, all right. Okay, Kiara, one thing you can do in Photoshop very easily is rotate your drawing. So I'd like you to do that before you submit it to the classroom. It's really useful. Otherwise, I think your presentation is really coming along in terms of the photographing, so that's great. Okay, and here is your setup. Okay, so I can see why, now that I look at your drawing, I can now see why you had some difficulties with this drawing. Because it looks like you were a little challenged here. One of the things you want to really do here is work with objects that are simple, more simple, that are not, that are solid. See-through items are very hard to draw. So I'm going to actually kind of go to um, Courtney's here. She's got some really good objects here. Especially this object and this object are great objects. And this is a little more challenging because it's got some graphics on it, but it's okay. But you want to really get simple objects, like things that are light colored and solid. What we used to do in drawing is we would tape white paper on things that had graphics. But cardboard, simple cardboard boxes are really good. A lot of people have like deliveries these days from Amazon. You can save those boxes. If you have a tin can, you can like take the label off. That's a really good object that most people have. Toilet paper rolls are another excellent object that a lot of people have, whether it's the roll itself or like the tube. The tube you get after you have used up all of your paper towels. That's another one that a lot of people have sitting around. Anything like any like bottle, solid colored bottle. I often have like vitamin bottles that I can take the label off that are light colored. Um, if you have any like glasses or mugs that are solid colored, things in your kitchen. So I would keep working on finding some objects here before you start drawing, and then make sure that you have them overlapping, 3 to 5 objects overlapping. Get a nice strong light. Keep, clear off your table so that you don't have other things around it so that you can really focus. The preparation for the drawing is the most important thing here, and then work a little bit more on your sighting. It looks like you maybe drew pretty quickly here, so slowing down a little bit, really observing carefully what you're drawing will also really help with your drawing and make it really come alive. Okay, Taylor, so I think you included your um, photograph here. Here it is. Yeah, okay, so this is a good arrangement. I like the overlapping, and these are nice geometric shapes, although I would love to see, especially this one here, but if you can get more solid ones rather than see-through, it makes this drawing so much easier. Otherwise, I think this is a good arrangement, and these are good objects in terms of their shapes. Let's see here. Yeah, and then really getting a little bit more of a stronger light as well. Like, you can set up like a table lamp or a desk lamp or something to the side, and then really try to, you know, um, work a little bit more on the lights and darks in that. Again, just can be lines, like one side can be a little darker and one side a little lighter. So I would keep working on that, but I'd really try to find simpler objects for yourself in terms of them being solid, like not see-through. Um, things like even like flower pots, like those kind of, a lot of people have those like, terracotta flower pots. That could be a good object, or just kind of look around for simple objects. I mentioned, if, a number that a lot of people might have, and that might give you some ideas for what you could kind of corral from your house. Okay, Janelle, I'm also going to rotate your drawing here. And yeah, you could crop this and adjust the color. That would be awesome, just like we did last week. And yeah, you didn't need to actually do any shading for this drawing, but I think you did a nice job with it. And I think your objects look really good here. I think overall, this is really a really good study, a really good still life study. So I would say that this is good in terms of what you needed to do. I would just work on the presentation, naming. I named it. I put your name in here just because I had so many numerical drawings that I just wanted to make sure that I got your name right here. But you can do that yourself, easily rename the file, crop it, adjust the color, and then you should be good to go. We really focus so much on presentation and craft in our design and art classes. The reason why is that in the working world, you can have, like, for example, this I think is a really pretty nice drawing, but I wouldn't think that if I were just flipping through drawings. I would just go right past this because it doesn't look like there was any attention paid to making it look good, like in terms of cropping it, changing the color, making it look like really sharp, in terms of the original drawing. So you can see how that really makes a difference. And all throughout design, we really focus on that, really trying to make what we do really stand out. So that's all I think you really need to do here. Dana, yeah, again, shading is not a requirement for this assignment. And actually, I don't really, like, I always just use the instructions for an assignment in terms of what I expect. So if you wanted to do shading, that wasn't a part of the requirement. So it's not like I, will give you a higher grade for doing that. Um, so, it's okay if you don't want to work on that. Um, and okay, so let's just look at your drawing. So yes, I like your arrangement. I love the overlapping here. And I think that's like I'm glad you just worked on sighting because that's a really key part of this week that we're working on the drawings. So the only thing I would say that I want you, a couple things. First of all, put your line of your table in, wherever that is, somewhere it's back here. You can go back to your arrangement. If you've taken apart your arrangement, you put it back quickly together and find that line and put it in there. If you can, folks, if you can throughout the week, keep your still life set up during the week. That will be really useful because then you can just come back to it. I know that a lot of us don't have the kind of space to be able to do that, but you can always set it up again. And then if you can get a really strong light, um, wherever that is, examine the lines. Like, for example, one of these sides should be a little darker, and you can darken that side, whichever is the lightest and which is the darkest, and you can do that with all your objects. Take a look at this handle. Maybe this handle, it feels like maybe you need to clarify that a little bit more. feels a little bit off, so you might want to work on that. Finally, your color here, you can see it's got quite a yellow cast. I would go and just adjust that in Photoshop to knock that out using the tutorials from last week and the critique. Okay, but otherwise, I think you're really going in a good direction here. Okay, Erin, yes, I'm so glad you mentioned this. That let's see if I'll pull it in a little bit more here. That you need to start looking more at your still life, or pardon me, yeah, your still life rather than your paper. Thank you for mentioning that. That's one of the reasons we worked on what we did last week, was to just get everybody focused on that. But yeah, I think this looks good. I think you are really done a nice job here of overlapping and also looking at the shading. I can tell you're really starting to get a handle on that. I think your composition looks really good in terms of placing your objects in the page. Um, yeah, I think this looks really good. So this is where you should be at this point. You've added a little more shading, but just kind of really just again keep reminding yourself to look at the paper, or I'm sorry, the still life, and I think yeah, keep doing what you're doing. This looks good. Okay, Daniel. Okay, all right. So let's see here. So it looks to me like you might have also had some see-through objects in here. This looks see-through. This looks maybe a little more complex than it should be in terms of at this stage. So I might re-choose your objects here. And again, think about really simple, solid colored objects. I've mentioned quite a few here. Also fruit and vegetables, sometimes those can be, if they're lighter colored, but they can often be really good. Like you might have something like a cabbage or something in your in your kitchen that you could use, but keep working on choosing them. Make sure they're overlapping. You want to overlap the objects in some way, like put one in front of the other, create arrangement. um, and then really start thinking about light, putting a really strong light source, and then sort of thinking about the lights and darks. You do not have to do any shading. It can be all just outlines, just like the video instructions. There's a video that shows you how to do this, so you can just follow along with that with your own setup. um, you know, that's, I think, the main thing. I think I really do like the way you have set up the arrangement. If you had this overlapping and, with a stronger light source and simple objects, I think this would be working really well. Um, okay, adjust the color if you can in Photoshop or some other software, and, keep working on it. Okay. The good. Okay, good. The part that you found challenging was drawing the top of the box with another object on top in perspective. Yeah, I just want to say that whenever you have um, things closer to the horizon line, this isn't a perspective class, so we're not going to get too much into it. It's just observational drawing, but just this particular area in here is actually a very challenging thing to draw, no matter what your level is, because when you have an oval that's very close to the horizon line, it gets kind of compressed and it's harder to draw. But I think you did a good job with it. And I love your kind of overlapping here, and it's always nice to include more objects, and you've got this really, I don't know where you found this, but this is such a terrific uh, um, object to work with, that pyramidal shape. Or cone shape, I should say. So yeah, this looks really good. I don't see any changes you need to make. I think your presentation looks really good, and you really start capturing the lights and darks here. So yeah, nice job.